50% Glenfiddich, it's got to be a winner, right? Although the Neckpour didn't hugely impress me. Hi there, my name's Lewis and welcome to the Neckpour. You join me here today for the dregs of this bottle, the 15-year-old Vat 3 Solera Cask edition from Glenfiddich. This is one of their travel retail exclusive bottlings, and it's actually the last bottle I've got left of the whiskey I picked up on my honeymoon. Click up there and you'll see the original Neckpour I did of this bottle, although amusingly it was the first to date episode where I forgot to hit record before I filmed the video. So it's a Neckpour, although the whiskey's already in the glass when the video starts and the top of the bottle's already gone. But yeah, this bottle I picked up in Sri Lanka on the way back from our honeymoon, and I was super excited to get into it. Glenfiddich, as with a lot of people, was one of those kind of gateway whiskies for me. One of those first sort of things tried in the supermarket and a very ubiquitous name. And I thought finding sort of a non-chill filtered, higher strength version, this was going to be a real holy grail. But the Neckpour wasn't the greatest, sort of as it was straight out of the bottling. But yeah, before I waffle on any further, let's get a little something poured for this. And let's have a little listen to the cork. Really loose cork in this bottle, and has been since pretty early on. And as you can see, I've got a couple of measures left, although the last bit, as with always, will be going into my infinity bottle, so it'll be kept out. So I'm going to go with about that much. And the one thing I'm going to do before even drinking it is I'm going to go straight in with a little bit of water. This is a whiskey that really, really benefits from the water. And if you clicked off and did watch that first video, you'll see and hear just how disappointed I was with this straight off the rip. But then just by giving it a little bit of time with water, brought a heck of a lot more out actually. And yeah, brought it somewhere that I was a lot happier with. Before we really get into the bones of this one, I would just like to say, if you're enjoying the content, please do hit like down below. If you've got any thoughts on this bottle, anything else from Glenfiddich, including some of their posher expressions, or if there's anything else in travel retail you think I've missed out on, drop it down below. I'll be sure to get back to you, and I'll keep my eyes out to pick up a bottle. And if you're really enjoying the content, hit like, subscribe, and the notification bell, and you'll be informed next time I post. But yeah, let's get this up to the nose. And straight away, there's just heaps of that orchard fruits that's kind of a ubiquitous Glenfiddich tasting note. I think it's a bit more peary than it is appley, but you know, it's a bit of nip tuck there for me really. There's a bit of kind of biscuits on the nose, and there's a little bit of a kind of oaky spice. I think that's coming through from the virgin oak that's in here. Much more so than a sort of sherry spice. I would say it's a much more oaky, peppery spice on the nose. And yeah, with that bit of water, that's really, really enjoyable on the nose. Straight out of the bottle, it's a little bit flat. But yeah, once you kind of agitate it with that little bit of water, start getting some of those more aggressive compounds to start popping out and break those suspensions. Yeah, really comes across nicely. But it is, even say it's non-chill filtered and 50%, I do find it a little bit thin, both in the glass and in the mouth. Moving on to the palate, that kind of orchard fruit continues through, but becomes a little bit more cooked, like a slightly stewed apple or a stewed pear, like a poached pear, something like that. You get a bit more of that sherry coming through, again, which is quite similar to that sort of stewed fruit, you know, quite often cooked with a bit of cinnamon, nutmeg, whatever. I also get a lot of custard on the front of the palate, and getting on towards a sort of nutty tart like a frangipan, a marzipan, something like that, which really, really, really pleasant, but it's a bit short and those flavours are a bit kind of, that's the flavours and then that's it, if you know what I mean. There's no looking around for anything else. I'm not getting a huge depth there. I'm just kind of getting a few nice flavours, but not too much more than that. And I think it's the finish of this whiskey that really does let it down. It ends really quite quickly. You get a kind of leatheriness, a tobacco-iness from that virgin oak and that bourbon. There's a little bit of a kind of warming winter spice from the sherry, and perhaps a little bit more spice from that virgin oak. And there's a nice kind of overall general sort of roundedness, could even say creaminess, but it's pretty short and pretty flat, if I'm totally honest. And yeah, it's an odd one because this is nice, it's really nice, but it's a bit just, there's not enough oomph to it, there's not enough backbone, there's not enough anything else kind of coming through and getting you. And I'm not saying everything needs to be these big punchy cask strength, whether it be a sherry bomb or a peat monster or whatever, but this is just a bit safe and nice and just a bit almost dull. And it's just kind of a slightly hotter version of your standard Glenfiddich 15, but it costs an awful lot more. This was $109 when I picked it up, which at today's exchange rate works out at just under £81. And for that price, I could get a bottle of 12 and 15 Glenfiddich. And I don't know how much more experience I'm getting from this than them, because when I have tried them in the past, and someone bought me a couple of miniatures that I only had 2 or 3 months ago, so we're not talking years and years ago, they're pretty competent whiskies. And again, this is a pretty competent whiskey, but I don't know. I do feel of the kind of special bottles, those travel retail exclusive bottles I picked up, this was the one I was most excited for. And if anything, I'd say this is probably the biggest letdown in a sense. But, you know, they must sell a lot of bottles of this. I think it's in every single duty-free sort of around the world. And they're a huge name. So maybe it's, you know, more for a sort of consumer palate and someone who knows a bit less about whiskey. But yeah, as I say, I have enjoyed it. I can't say that. But it didn't maybe live up to my expectations. But yeah, before I start just going on about it, I think I'll leave this one here for today. I'd like to say thank you all so much for joining me here today. It really does mean the world to me. If you've enjoyed the content, please do hit the like button down below. If you've got any thoughts, as I say, on this bottle, or there's anything you want to see me review, drop that in the comments below. I'll be sure to get back to you. And if you're really enjoying the content, please do hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you're informed next time I post. Other than that, I just, again, love to see you for another episode of the Neckpour, the Dregs, which is my thoughts and opinions on whiskey. Until the next time, I'd like to say cheers, Sláinte, and I'll see you again.